If I was doing a video, I'd be like, hey guys, Daniel James here. And today, what we're going to be doing is taking a look at Output's Signal sample library, their Pulse creation software, and Wide Blue Audio's Orbit. Two libraries that came out around the same time, quite similar on paper, but in practice, quite different beasts. So I don't know which I'm going to start with today. So let's have a quick look. So I've got the chat room up on the side there. So, you know, you guys who are watching on the YouTube can see what it's like when we live stream this stuff. But right, so let's just delete like all this stuff that we don't need, and then we will pull up. Let's pull up Orbit first, because I haven't played with Orbit as much. So this is Orbit. Right, now we close that. So both libraries when you get them. So there's Wide Blue. It is Wide Blue Audio, isn't it? I didn't make that up. Wide Blue Sound. Sorry, I apologize. I got it incorrect. So yeah, the Wide Blue Sounds library is called Orbit, and it's designed for you to be able to make pulsing rhythmic underscore type type sounds. And then there is Output Signal, which on paper is designed to make sounds, like underlying pulse type rhythms. So on paper they both do the similar kind of thing, but like I said earlier, in practice they're quite different. So I apologize if there's lag in the keyboard and all that. All this streaming software keeps updating, so you'll have to bear with me. But yeah, so we'll look at Orbit first. So when you get Orbit, looks like this. At first I was a little bit confused. I wasn't quite sure how it works. So hopefully I'll be able to describe it to you guys. So we're just going to go just screen for a little bit, which is fantastic for you guys because you don't have to look at my face. So yeah, this is the Orbit interface. I'm sure some of you guys have seen this already. And what you get essentially is 4 different sounds, and then the way you get a pulse. So if I just play some sound, actually, that would be useful. So as you can hear, you get like a nice kind of pulsing rhythmic type thing. And the way it does this is each one of these 4 like columns here they're different sounds. They're different sound effects, and at the bottom they have different filters on them. And what it does is the sequencer essentially scrolls through them one by one based on a shape. So right now it's on a sawtooth. You can change it to a square, which is quite soft, surprisingly, or you can go to a flow, which is a sine wave. So if I was to change, say, as you can see right now, they're all aura sweeps. So let's say we wanted to change that first beat. You click on the name and it comes up with a whole list, right? A whole list of like cool like sound sources, I guess you'd say. And they have aggressive, they got mysterious, they got dreamy, dark, right? So I'm going to go aggressive because that's how, I live life on the edge. So now if I play it, it's very obvious what's happening. So this first one is sounding. So what I want to do now is I want to kind of blend that in with the other aura sweeps. I mean, this would be quite a hard sell anyway. So you see, now we've got the downbeat, right? So what we could do here is we can come to the cutoff here because it's quite aggressive. And we'll just pull the cutoff back on that first step. Obviously, it's got a bit quieter, so we're going to pull this up. Someone asks, am I dropping frames? Nope. 0%. It could be laggy for you guys because I do upload. If you're watching this on YouTube, this is irrelevant, so you can ignore this. But if you're watching on the live stream, I upload at 3,000 kilobits a second, which is like 3 megabit. So if you've not got 3 megabit download, it might be choppy for you. I don't have the option to change the settings, and this is the only way I can get it HD. So I apologize for that if you're on a slower connection, but yeah. So anyway, as I was saying, so but you can adjust the cutoff of each individual step, like by just you can see cut resonance. So now we've got like a little, or we could change this to a bandpass. So there's, you get the idea of what that's doing there. So we can just change these. I don't know what these are. I'm just randomly changing. So we'll change it to something slow. So as you can see, just by changing the way it blends between the different ones, the different kind of effects you can achieve, which is that's good. It's good fun. You can take this down to 8 bars. So each one of these will be on for 8 bars. That's too long. I'll make it 2. I'll make it really obvious, which is beat 1. So you see, so that's just the first part. So that's kind of that's the principle behind it. Of course, you can just hit the random if you don't feel like being creative. That's perfect for making drones. So that's kind of cool. I'm liking that. So what I'll do now is I'll come over to the next section, which is the effects. So you get like 2 distortions. You get a scream and a distortion. You get a phaser, which you can also change to a chorus, or a flanger, which is fun. You get delay, which is perhaps my favorite effect of all time. A space designer, which is essentially a convolution reverb that they've put their own custom impulses in. I always want to call them like convolves or something. I feel like they need a better name than impulse, but yeah. And then of course a low pass filter. And my low pass filter, I think they've already assigned it. It could have been mine because I assigned it the second I got it. But it's assigned to my mod wheels. So if I turn this on, we can do things like that. So if I now come to like the distortion. Now I'm making this on purposely aggressive, because what I'm going to do now is I'm going to jump over to the sequencer, and the sequencer is perhaps like my favorite little trick in this whole library. Is you get 4 different sequences to play with, and you get to choose what they go on. Like obviously they've picked it for you, but now what I'm going to do is I'm going to put it on the tone, because I was messing with the tone. So let me pull the tone back a little bit, and now I can like maybe make like a kind of triplety kind of pad like this. How many steps? Let's do like this, and then I turn this on. Which is cool. So now let's come over here and make some pan. So what we'll do is we'll make it 6 steps. So we'll go like center, and then like left, right, just randomly in the middle. Can't really hear it. Let's take the step rate down. Maybe like just like a little bit of movement like this. And then I cocked it there, didn't I? Because I want to go up and then down, and then like up and then. So now, have we got one for the filter? Mod effects, bypass, delay, bypass. I haven't even put the delay on yet. So we can change the orbiting rate. I wonder what this will do. I've not played with this yet. So this is why this is a first impression, not like an overview or like a really in-depth tutorial. But So let's put this on and have a... It's chaos. That one's quite tricky to control. So we'll take this down to like something simple, like 2 steps. And we'll bring this down to like, I don't know, a bar. So every bar it's going to change how fast it's going. Which is getting a little bit out of hand. Now, can we control the low pass filter? Mod effects. No, delay, no, space. Now, I wish you could control the filter. I can't see it. Is it there? Orbiting mode, screen, bypass, distort, mod effects, depth, mod effects, mix. No. Is there one here? Oh, okay. The filter's down here. Wait. What? Is this the only one that's got global cutoff? Or am I actually going blind? Global volume, global pan, global tune, global resonance. But this is the only one with... Okay, so the filter's at the bottom, I guess. I'm not sure what this does, but it looks interesting. Oh, okay, this is like presets. Okay. So now I should be able to like let the filter out a little bit. Cool, so now we put some delay on it. Little tip for you. Eighth dotted notes are like normally the cool ones. So we've got like a cool sound there. So let's try this Space Designer out here. I'm turning it up so we can hear what it's doing. That one's crazy. So they're kind of cool. I liked, there was like an ethereal, ethereal was too crazy. I'm going to turn that off for now. All right, so we've got all our sequencers set up, which is pretty cool. This one here was not doing much, so let's put it on. What should I put it on? That'll be fun. We'll put it on the space send actually, and we'll take this and we'll go up to 4 steps, and we'll just gradually. I mean, like that's going to be quite shit because it's doing it in like. Well, let's bring it up to like half beat. So now if I turn this back on. Actually, that's kind of... So what we want to do is we actually want to come below and then build up to like just like this. And maybe we'll change it to something a bit more like... We don't even want it that high, so we're going to come down, 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 like that. Cool. Right, so now we've got this. We've built this from scratch, which is cool. We'll change up this middle one to another bandpass. And of course, like if we pull this down, our sequencer is going to keep this pattern going, so we still have a 16th pulse. But we're cycling through the sounds a lot slower. So now I'm just going to, without even looking, just randomly swap out some other ones. And, you know, I'm kind of adjusting things as I go, so I can actually change the attack of the gate on this. So I've got like a kind of... So, you know, I've got like a kind of choppy thing there. And again, I could bring this down so that each pulse only changes every fourth. So you see, because that's a gate, it's essentially on and off. So if I was to pull the depth of this back... So now we're getting a kind of... I just realised this is turned down really low. I apologise if that was quiet. Oh, that's a bit shrill. So we can change it. So this is with no pulse. So essentially all these, I believe all of these are playing at the same time now. Which is a bit loud, but... And then if I bring the depth all the way up... And again, we're getting that aggression because I've got the sequencer on. So if I turn the sequencer off... So you see, like, it's possible to create some really, interesting... vibes from that. By the way, can you guys tell me if it still says there's a Project Alpha giveaway? We're not doing one of those today, but yeah, on the title, I don't know. But anyway, so yeah, we've had a look at that. So I've just built a patch from scratch. That rhymes. I'm a poet. So now let me just hit random. So now I've just built like this, instantly cool thing. So let's say, of course you can go faster. Or like, 90 beats per minute, which is where the cool range is. But we're going to go like 100 and... We'll go 115. But yeah, let me hit random again. So now if I, let me change this. So now if I was to, record this. That's some shitty timing right there. So now like I've just created like a little loop there. So if I just come here and adjust that and hit random again. And this is like a little tip that I always do is like I'll create a track and then I'll make a like an audio track and I'll just hit record on it. I'll mute it so you don't have to hear it twice. Then I hit record on that. And then now I have an audio loop of the patch I've created. So when I'm moving between projects, You know, so I can now do crazy audio. You know, I can do like some weird, crazy... you know, put some auto filter on it. Maybe a bit of decapitator. You know, so just by, you know, libraries like this are good for creating your own patches. You know, like there's no denying that at all. But then, you know, bouncing out a creation and then, you know, putting it into your sample bank, you know, that's kind of what you know, that's what you want to be doing. You could build preset, you know, obviously when you make a patch like this, you know, you'd save that preset, you know, by hitting this button here. Enter name for your snapshot, stream, and then save. So now it's saved. And then I would bounce that out to audio and I'd put that in like my sound bank, you know. All right, let me, can I adjust these? God damn it. Anyway, right. So now let's take a listen to some of their presets. So they got choppy ones. You know, we'll just go between a few. So these are the presets that come built in. So there's, you know, a nice little ethereal one. We'll do a couple more. Like these ones say chop, so. You know, you could put like some rhythmic thing over that. In fact, let's do that. Let's drums. I don't know. Let's put like some high rhythm stuff over it. Let's put some strings on it, why not? That cut off though. Fuck. You get the idea. You get so like you can, you know, I was using loops there, you know, from Hybrid 2 and you know, and loop strings. Obviously, like I would never do that, but you can see how a pulse like that fills out the, you know, it fills out the sonic sphere, the sonic, you know, kind of range. And again, like so, this is their setup, you know. So they've got like this global pan going, you know, forward and back. So let's choose something different. What is it? Crunchy bass. Oh, this was one I built. And this I like because it kind of sounds like a, you know, like a bass guitar. So, you know, I can roll with that. You know, that's something I can mess with, which is cool. Hang on, let me go to. I need to change this thing first. 1 second. Need to change that. So that people know what they're coming in for. Signal and oh god, I can hear myself. Need to change that. No. Hang on. Is this update? Is this going to update? Okay, that should update now. Anyway, sorry, I was elsewhere there. Okay, so yeah, this, you know, like, so this is like the crunchy bass thing. Again, I can just hit random. You know, I didn't actually have any sequencer there. I just had scream. So I'm literally only using the pulse. So it's all keeping the same thing, but it's, you know, that's just how it rolls. So now they've got some flow. Let's pick up Float Away. Again, we could throw some filter on this. So one thing I wish you would be able to do is rearrange the effects. You know, like drones are cool for inspiration because they get you, they put your mindset, you know, where it needs to be, kind of thing. Let me pick a choppy one. And again, like one of the cool features of this one, just hitting that random button. It reminds me of what's coming up in the Omnisphere 2 thing, you know, the sound lock. So, like, you can get a sound that you kind of dig the sound of, and so you like that one, you know, you hit random, the sounds change. It's kind of cool. Where's the classic sawtooth? What's that under? So this is another thing, you know, finding the actual sound. So if we make these all the same sound, classic sawtooth. That's technically like some, you know, FM synthesis right there. We'll slow this down. So yeah, so there we go. The with the sequencer and the effects. So I think you guys kind of get the idea about how this one works. I'd say that this one's strength lies in its ability to do the soft. Like it's got some, obviously, like some of these like louder ones you can find some awesome use for, but like it really excels at doing the droney type things. So, you can take any sound in any direction, which is cool. So if you are a sound designer, there's a lot here. Like a sound designer knows that any sound can kind of be taken in any direction. Like if I, like there, for example, I took what was a pad and turned it into a rhythm. But you can do the opposite direction. So there, that's how you go about that. So someone asked in the chat room, is Orbit a synth or does it use samples? It's if it's in Kontakt, it's a sampler. So it's the design behind it essentially is, for those of you who missed it, is you get 4 bars here, 4 different voices, right? So you can load a different sample into each. Here's the sample bank here. I would count them all, but I'm not going to. So you get like different types. You get dark ones, you get dreamy ones, you get some mysterious ones, and you get aggressive sounding ones. And you can swap these out however you like. Again, I'll just pick some randoms. And then the way the engine works is the pulses come through cycling through each of these in order. So it'll go this one, then this one, then this one, then this one. And you adjust how it cycles through those at the bottom. So as you can see right now, it's on flow, which is a sine wave, which means every half dotted note, that's how long it's going to take to blend between one voice and the next. So if you watch the little volume bars to the right here, you'll see a kind of waving motion. So you can see how it's cycling through, and then you can obviously see how this would turn into. Let me just turn off the space design. You can now, you can see how that would turn into a rhythm if you played it faster. So that's why you have the options for pulse and cut. Okay, so pulse is a sawtooth, and chop is a gate. It's a square-shaped gate. and you can adjust the cutoff resonance. You can even do like the pitch and the pan. So it's sort of like a synth. It's designed like a synth, but it does it's based around samples. So that's pretty much all there is to show on Orbit. I mean, there's some more functional things that you can cycle the waves. So if you wanted to move, adjust the waves. Or you can clone one. So now they're all cycling through individually. And then if I hit clone again, it goes back to the first one. So, I mean, there's functional things like that. But that's essentially Orbit. So, like I mentioned at the beginning, Orbit and Signal both came out around the same time. And on paper, they both do the same thing. They're both Pulse designers. Now, Orbit, I think, is your go-to for if you're looking to do drones with motion. So, I'm sure a lot of you have had... you've had work where you've had a scene that needs something, needs something in the background to kind of just hold it over, and then, that's where this, I think, this one's called Interstellar. So you see, that's very subtle. It's a very subtle loop, a very subtle pulse to it. And I think that's what this excels at, is creating the that subtle undertone, okay? So yeah, I think that's what this one excels at. So let's bring it back up. Hey, I'm back. Normally this little voice is delayed, the little camera there. So you guys are famous again. So yeah, this is Orbit. So before I move on to Signal, does anybody have any questions about Orbit? And I'd love to see your thoughts. Keep in mind, people will be able to see this. I just realized that you guys are like severely cut off. God damn it! This whole chat room thing is hard to do. Whatevs. You can sort of read it, right? Oh, Christ. Hang on, let me see if I can shrink you down a bit. There we go. Now you fit. That'll do. What's it like on this one? Oh, it's the same thing. There we go. Right. So what do you guys think about this? Like people, I was prepared for the question of people saying, which do I prefer? And I don't think this is a case of preferring. I know which one I'll use more because I do certain types of music more. But we'll get to that towards the end. So Orbit, I believe, costs $150, I believe. But yeah, it's as to the question people were saying just then was, which am I going to prefer? So, like I said, on paper, they both do the same thing. But in practice, Orbit seems to be focused more towards the subtle undertone. And then when we get to Signal, you'll see what that does. Okay, so now let's jump over to Signal. So Signal's by Output, who also released a library called Rev, which was awesome. And most of you know that I don't normally do reviews of like hybrid sample libraries, because I make one myself, but both of these are so cool. So if I just push up the first preset, this is what Signal sounds like. So obviously a more aggressive sound. That's what you're going to get with Signal. So yeah, this is what Signal's like first page looks like. So up here you have these macro controllers here. You have two different pulse engines. which extend down, but I'll go onto those in a bit. There's quite a bit more to kind of talk about on this one, so I hope you guys are buckled in. You have effects units. You have effects units for both global and for individual pulses, and you have the assignable macro controls. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to jump onto the full screen so you guys can see it a little bit clearer. So what is Signal, right? There's a good place to start. So Signal is essentially a pulse generator, much like Orbit, but it seems to be focused a little bit more aggressively, a little bit more attack, a little bit more kind of edge, as you can tell by that. So you get a lot of these kinds of sounds. So I'm just cycling through a few. So as you can tell, the tone of this one, of this library, is considerably more aggressive than Orbit, which could be a good thing or a bad thing depending on what kind of music you want to write. If you're doing something that's got lots of underscore type stuff, then maybe Orbit's your way. If you're doing something a bit more actiony, a bit more aggressive, then maybe Signal's your way. So one thing Signal does, which is cool, which is like as I'm starting with the presets, I'll start here, is you have the option to kind of pick what type of sound you want based on its attributes. So let's say we want something complex and dark that's percussive, so it's given me a little small bank of ones that will fill that. But let's say I wanted it beautiful instead. It's still loading in. So as you'll see, each some of these patches can get rather big. And then, of course, you can clear it all and start again. Something fat. I want something fat and low. So you get the idea of how you search. So the best way to show how one of these types, I'm going to treat this one a bit more like a synth because it's very much more synth-like than Orbit in its creation. So I'm going to go to the init patch, which is perhaps the least interesting sound ever. So when you get to the the init patch, in fact, let me backtrack a little bit. I apologize. Let me backtrack a little bit because macro controls you can't do custom yet. So I'll explain macro control. So essentially when you have a sound, as I mentioned at the beginning, it's split into two different pulse engines. And a pulse engine is essentially a repeating sound. Like it's a sound source that's being replayed or looped in a certain kind of way. And I'll explain how it works in a second when we build a patch. But one thing I wanted to mention is over here there's a macro control, which are these sliders. We're not going to be talking much about these, but essentially what a macro controller does is it controls the parameters down below. So, so this bar is controlling all of these at the same time. Which is a cool way to go through the different sounds. But the reason I'm not going to talk about those too much today is because you can't assign your own ones. So if you're building your own patch, you can't actually change, you can't put anything in these. You just have to work with what they've got. So I just wanted to mention that before we start. So here we go. So we're going to build a patch from scratch. That's a poet. That's a poet? That rhymes. I mean, I'm a poet. So yeah. So where do you start? So the first thing you do is like a blank page would look like this. There's nothing, no sound. So you want to turn on one of your pulse engines. We'll turn on pulse engine A, okay? So which is a sound like this. Not the most interesting sound. So if like someone in chat say the type of sound we'll do something, and I'll go by what they say. But yeah, I'll explain what this is for now. So I say so a lot, but when I'm thinking, you'll get over it. Anyway, so the first thing we'll look at here is, I'll change this rhythm. Yeah. So I click the speed. Let's say we want a slow one. You get the idea of how that works. And then what you can do is you can come over here and you can change if you want the way the pulse is working to be either a wave, a step, an up, or a loop. Now, it's going to be hard and quite disjointed to explain how this all ties together. So what I'll do first is I'm going to come over here to the sound sources, which will make sense. So down here, you to the bottom right of this this pulse engine square, you'll see it says analog saw, right? So if I click on this, boom, you get all the different sound sources in the library. So you get a load of different synth sounds. And you also get instruments. Okay, so you get the idea of how that works. So for now, what we'll do is someone says, let's build like a rhythmic bass. So we'll start with something aggressive sounding naturally. Let's go with the sub saw, why not? Okay, so the first thing you'll want to do is you'll want to set up your rhythm. Let's say we want an eighth note kind of. Yeah, something like this. But we don't like the wob, wob, wob. We want it to be a bit more aggressive. So we can come down to shape here, and it gives you a whole different load of shapes, right? Or even complex ones. But for now, I'll just choose like something simple like this. And then what we want to do next is we want to hit this advanced tab, right? And what it'll do is it'll pull up this little window here. And this is essentially how Signal works. Whatever you set up here, whatever you set in this little window is what's controlling the effect, is what's controlling the pulse. So as you can hear right now, it's going but. And so that's essentially the volume here, which is at 100% being controlled by this shape here. Dun, 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 which is why if I change it to a sine, you'll see. But if I pull this down, so the way to look at it is these controls here are like an amount of the pulse, which is here, if that makes any sense. So what's cool about that is that you can assign a filter to that. Or you can assign distortion to that. So this is a cool way of getting a pluck almost in a way, because what's happening here is the tube is the amount of distortion is being affected by this. So obviously you're getting a lot of distortion when it's here and no distortion when it's here. Which is a cool way to do it. So now let's say you wanted to have this pulse, but you wanted the effects to be applied differently, but to this one sound. So this is where the second rhythm comes in. So I'll turn this on. And now what we want to do is, let's say we want a wave shape, and we want like a half note triplet for the panning. So now the pulse, the volume of the pulse is this shape, but as you can see here, the pan is controlled by this shape, because the amount's full up. So if we put on the distortion, and pull it off of the first rhythm, but put it on the second. But what's cool is you can also put a 16th over the 8th. Let's put it. Or, we can actually program in a rhythm by changing the wave to a step. So let's do that. So now we've got like a step like this. Let's bring it down to like 8th. And again, I did this in the other one. Let's make like that triplet E type pattern again. Well. So that's pretty cool. That's a cool way to get started with the actual sound. So now let's say, for example, we weren't happy with this, or we wanted like something organic. So let's bring in like muted guitar. Now the problem we've got with the muted guitar is there's a strong attack, the dum, but then it just trails off into the sustain, which isn't very loud, which isn't what we want. So now if we come back to the main rhythm, we actually have more, like when we click on the shape, we actually have more options than we do with the second rhythm. We have ARP and we have loop. So loop will essentially bring up the actual wave shape, and now what it'll do is it'll cycle through this loop like a tape machine at the speed granted. So now we're actually getting the pluck of that muted string. We can change the speed up. And of course the second rhythm is still controlling our effects with this triplet pattern. So we've got this playing at 16ths, and then over here we've got the step pattern, which is why we're getting that. I changed it, but yeah, and this is playing 16ths as well, but a different rhythm. So we're getting accents. So it's still the same thing, but if I was to change this to 8ths, or even 4ths, or even, we could even go the opposite direction, go fast. And then if we go any faster, it's going to get crazy, but I like that. So we'll bring this down to... And again, these now that I've changed it to the step pattern, I'm able to apply this distortion much like it was in Orbit, based on the step. But I can bring these up a bit. So I've got like a cool, and now of course I can change this for anything. What did we have originally? I'm actually going to make it something short. I like that. Because if I play it high, I'll get that. So now we have this first rhythm, right? Let's say on the second, let's say we want like something layered with that. Okay, so I'm going to bring this down a bit. So let's put on the second one. In fact, I actually want to put some effects on this before I do. So I'm hearing, with this, I'm actually hearing like I want a delay on it. So if I come down here, like I've clicked on my effects, you see it's highlighted on global, or, pulse A, pulse B. It selects them both. So I want some delay, but only on that first pulse. So what I'll do is I'll come down here. Each effect has two little like power switches underneath it. So what I want to do is I want to put like an 8th. We'll turn those off. We'll just stick with a delay for now. So yeah, now we'll turn on the other patch. I mean, that's what happens if you have no pulse. But we'll put the pulse on. And again, so now let's say now I wanted to put like the mute guitar with it again. Same thing happened last time, but last time we chose loop, which was like this. Which is cool, right? I mean, that's pretty cool. But what we can do is we can also put it as an ARP. And the cool thing about the ARP is it means we can take that initial attack and, you know... But the other cool thing about using the ARP means you can come down to the ADSR and adjust that per step, essentially. And the same with the filters. So if I come over to the filter now and turn it on, I'm just going to turn this one off for now. Yeah, so with the ARP on, because we've got step, that means every time there's a step, the actual note is re-triggering. Okay, which means that with the filter, when I've turned it on, it means I can put a filter envelope on it, so I can make some plucks. One thing I've noticed though, and this I think is a bug, so if there's anybody from Signal watching this, from Output watching this, is when you're on ARP mode, you can't use these effects correctly anymore with the wave shape. So I can't have a wave. If you listen to this, so right now the pan is all the way up, which means that every fourth note it should pan between left and right, or every half note now. You'll hear it just stays on the right. So it's almost like it's stuck in motion. But if I come to step and then change it, to like 2 steps or 3, whatever. So the steps work, but so make it 4 steps then. Now we put that with the other patch. Now we can put like some effects on the B. Another thing I noticed, which I think might be a bug, is the compressor seems to just turn the sound down. Oh, it's not doing it now because it hates me. Or was it on the global one that it did it? Let me check. Nope, just me. Okay. Anyway, ignore that then. So we put some tape saturation on. Actually, no. And now we can bring back in the first patch. So you see, that's kind of annoying with the loop. So I'm actually going to put this one on ARP as well. That way I can bring it down to an almost click. So as you can tell, that's a pretty cool way of making like these little, that's a kind of like cool little stabby thing. So what I'll do now is I'm going to come in and swap out some of the sounds. So let's just anything random and see how it stacks up. Okay, so let's say I'm happy with this, which I actually am. Now I can come to save, and I can save as a new preset, and this is pretty cool. I'll just say this is DJ Whinger. Whinger. There we go. So now that's saved. So what I can do now is I can come up to the sound and just click on user, and you'll see all these ones I've made before. I went a bit crazy the day I got it. So let me play some of these. So as you can see, I've got a looper on this one, and then I've got a step sequencer doing the pan. And then on layer 2, I have a pulse engine doing the... So this is just a triangle. This was more for bass. And again, I could just match it. We can come down, so let's move to this one. And again, as I mentioned earlier, what I would do with this is I would come down like this and I would go. Like that, just bounce it down. Then I'd hit the record button. So now I have it based as audio, and I've already got the effects preset up on this track. Let's throw Glitch 2 on it. Glitch 2 fixes everything. When I said it fixes it, I mean it makes it sound shit. So going back to Pulse. So yeah, I would take something like that, I would bounce it out. So with the effects on this one, it's got some delay, it's got some flutter, and it's got nothing on the global channel. And so yeah, this is the thing I was mentioning at the beginning. So these dials here, like I mentioned on the other patches, they're macro controls. And as it is right now, on the VI Control forum, they actually responded to me to say that they're contemplating it. Or was it Facebook? It was it was on VI Control. They're saying a feature they're going to add so that you can assign, like, say I wanted the threshold and the attack to be controlled by this at the same time. So I move this one fader, and and then it all goes great. I think it's set up so that all the controls are. So let's say. Yeah, so if you look down here, if you see this line behind, that's actually an automation lane. So that means I can actually control that effect. So you see how that's going along with that? That means I can control any of these dials which means they've assigned them all, which is great. So all I'd have to do, I'm not sure how it works in every, what am I trying to say? I know. So, no, it's gone. I was talking about this. So yeah, I can control any parameter I want just by clicking on, one of these, and then in Ableton Live, when I move it there, it moves over here. You'll see that line move. And that's what I was going to say is I don't know how it works for every other DAW. You may have to go to a list, but I know that when I do this, it only shows ones that I've touched recently. So I can't just select from a list of all the parameters. If I want to change one, I have to physically come in like this and adjust. So if I was to do this now, this is just the volume dial. So now if I hold it, which is cool if you are, if you're doing a track and you want certain parts to come in and out, you can actually control the synth itself. You can control the parameters within it. So say there's a section in the track, you want to use this patch. For example, you want to use this patch, but there's a section a little bit later on, you want the distortion to turn up just a little bit more. You can do that with the automation of your host DAW. So let's just go through a couple more of these. So that was based on the same sound. So this one's using a cello and a bass. The cello's just going. So it's looping every bar. Just a simple effect on there. And then this is just a decaying. So as you can see with the ADSR down here, we have an attack and 0 sustain. So it's only going to last for as long as this decay. That's why I've put play as fourths. So that means I just go 2, 3, 4, 1, 2. So when you play it back, you get like a nice rhythm. Just saves me programming it in. So what's the next one? So high sticks. I think this was the first patch I made. As you can tell, quite basic. So what did I do with this one? This one just uses this. So that's just simple eighths. It's just looping, doing those eighths. And then the effects, I believe I've got to have delay on there. Yeah. So it's literally just doing that. But with delay, obviously you get that kind of rhythm. So next we have high sticks edited. Similar kind of thing, just 16ths and a little bit more wishy-washy. So this is what I was just making. So this is one of the things that sort of not annoyed me, just got to me a little bit, was the effects. There's a filter on the global, but there isn't one for each. Other than the one here. So you get like a filter here, but it's like sometimes you don't want it to be assigned to the actual rhythm. You want to have just like an overall filter. So it'd be cool if they had like a filter here separate from the one that's in the pulse, because in the pulse sometimes if you've got an effect going on, you have to apply it. Say you've got two rhythms which are really cool, but you want to just have an overall low pass filter go over it. You can't do that per patch. You can only do that here in the global. But the other thing that annoys me is it's not assigned to the mod wheel, which is I think we can all agree that cutoff should be on the mod wheel by this point. Of course, you can just assign it yourself, but you have to do that every time you load it back up. Okay, what we got? Offbeat. There's a voice loop? Really? I apologize. I don't know where that's coming from. If there is. Is there really a voice loop? I apologize. I don't know where that would be coming from. God damn, you confused me. You confused me. Oh, damn you, chat. Anyway. Yeah, so moving on to the next one. DJ Hat's high notes. Oh, turned off the... So there's just like, I'm sure you can all like find a use for something like this. And of course I can slow that down. Yeah, you could throw up some weird cool things there. So this was me trying to do what you do with Orbit. So trying to make that slower kind of pulse one. And it does it quite well, but again, it's quite an aggressive sound. You know, so you can get some cool kind of wide sounds on there. Distorted perk. Again, one of my things is making like little hi-hatty things, and I always bounce those out like I've been showing. So this is the one we made today. And then we're back to the presets. And like, yeah, I'm before I even touched the presets, I started building my own. That's the kind of way I use things like these. But some of these presets are pretty cool. This one's called So Nasty. So of course, between these two libraries, if you don't have something with which you already make your pulses, these are going to be infinitely useful to you. I was super excited when I got them both, because Orbit came out first before I even knew what Signal was, and that made it into a score I'm doing right now, which is just makes my life easier. And then Signal came out, and I started making all these like little clicky, pulsy type things, and then I render those out, and now I've got a huge bank of. So each of these, each of these presets I built then turned into an audio loop, which is in a little folder that I always have. So when I'm working, I can just drag those in and manipulate them like that. But yeah, I'm almost using this as like an audio creation tool, as like a loop creator. But yeah, like I used to make things like this in either, Diva, Zebra, Omnisphere, Serum, any of these things. I used to make pulses. But when you get things like this, they're focused on making that one particular type of sound. So that's where they come in useful. If you have a piece of music and you need to write a pulse, it needs a pulse in it. If you're going aggressive, if you write big trailerish music, big epic action stuff, Signal's where you want to go, because it's got harder edge, you can definitely get a lot more synthetic with it. Whereas Orbit is more like underscorey type, droney type things. Let me try making a drone in Signal. So we'll go back to the init patch. What we'll do is we'll turn off the pulse engine. We'll just have a listen to the source audio. So what we'll do is we'll pull in. So what I'm going to try and make a drone. Let me try making a drone. Pulse engine is off. Why? Oh, I turned it off on the main window, didn't I? So let's put this down to something slow. You don't want you going all the way down. And what we're going to do is we're going to put this at like a wave that goes really slow. Every 8 bars, we're going to pan slightly between left and right, and we're also going to bring in a little bit of distortion. So what we'll do now is we'll throw that in. We're going to put a global delay on. Pan it wide. We're going to turn on the second one. We're going to pick some. Maybe a we'll have this one go at 4 bars. This is quite drony. But we're going to slow it down. We're going to bring in a piano. But we're going to make it arpy. No, loopy. So there's just a kind of that was a random bit of playing along. I actually kind of like this. I like the piano vibe, but it's got a low. There was like some sort of distortion on it. We could have that as a... I actually kind of liked it as a slow kind of... Yeah, the tube and bite is still on, but I don't want it to just be a piano. I'm going to save that. I actually like that. DJ, slow, piano. And what is it? It's pretty simple. It's beautiful. We'll go with that. I think this is... So that's actually a kind of cool system. So now if I take that idea and I move it onto, say, like a distorted guitar. So now we've got it. It was actually... Interstellar. We actually have an organ. So this is more of an actual so now I'm actually going to put a delay on the second. Doesn't work quite as well as the piano did, but now we can change, say, I don't know. So we know that the back end of it is doing this pulse. It's just doing this. It's just... So we could maybe put that... So I like that. So now I want something that kind of goes ding 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 ding, you know. So obviously the first thing I want to do is but I want it to be like dun 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 dun. So what we'll do is we'll bring this and we'll make it steps. Da 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 da. We'll bring that back in. We're going to save that as a new preset. We're going to call this one like downbeat trips. It's beautiful, but it's a little bit dark. Fuck it, we'll save it. I think that one's kind of cool. So like I'm kind of doing this thing at the minute where I've got a pad on the left. Let's bring it. We're gonna have this go. Like a kind of. So we'll make this 16th. Well, actually, we'll make this 8th and this one 16th. And now we'll make this a muted guitar. But we can't do that because this is on a loop, so we'll make this an ARP. We'll make it. In fact, so what we'll do here is something I didn't show earlier, is I'm going to pull up the pattern. And they've actually designed some patterns for you. So let's bring up some syncopated ones. What I'm going to do is I'm going to change this to a swipey backwards pattern. Actually, I'm changing my mind. I like the way that works. So what I'm going to do is, the muted guitar is cool, but let's try some other things. That reverb. But we still want reverb on the first one, so we can actually do that. You on the anvil, okay. really want it to swipe upwards. But I think I need to take off the reverb and delay for that. So we'll do that, and we'll bring this back in, but we'll change it from a syncopated rhythm. Maybe this one? No, it needs to be a simple one. 2, 3, 4, 1. That sounds shit. So we're going to change the shape of this. We're going to go back to sweepy sines. And we're going to change it from... Change from that to... We're going to make it really slow. But we're also going to make it... I'm going to make this like a piano or something. So this is now an arpeggio, which is good because that means I can pull the sustain down. Let's see if the compressor works this time. Does. I'm actually going to change this to let's change it to sticks and then tune it up. What the hell is that? And we'll do it looped. So we'll save that as countdown. Did it. So you see, like now we got like a groove with that, but we can change that out for claps and then this out for piano. So yeah, there you can see I went from drones and then I went off on like a rhythmic thing, but. So yeah, this library is definitely more for making the rhythmic things. One thing that I don't understand about it quite so much is why it's 40 gigabytes. Because the amount of sound sources you get are, how many do you get? 3, 5, 10, 15, 20, 25. So you get 50 sound samples. So I guess that's quite a few. I wish what they would have done, I mean, of course, this is just me speaking from, like a creativity standpoint. I wish there would be more sound sources with less... like round robins and bells and whistles, so that I have more textures to play with. But I mean, with 50, you can get like some really robust sounds. I mean, like you could even put the same sound on 2 things. Let's just bump these up to like 16 and go up to Why isn't this one sounding now? What did I do wrong? Jesus, there we go. So maybe if I put this back on an ARP. That's one basso. So I bet you that's the compressor if I turn that off. So yeah, this is what I was mentioning earlier. So on some of the different shapes, particularly the ARP, things start messing up. So when you put the ARP, you need to have a step sequencer here and able to actually use these effects within a pulse. With the effects, the compressor, if you listen, it actually just turns the sound down as opposed to compresses it. You hear it's gone really quiet now, whereas if I turn it off. No, 8D. Or maybe... Sorry, I'm like in the zone. Excuse me for a second. I'm saving that, and that's like the build-up. So you can see how like inspired I get just by having all these different options. So yeah, if you like to build and create your own, your own rhythms and whatnot, this is definitely the kind of one to go for. If you want more underscorey type things, Orbit's where you want to be. But it, on paper they look the same, and how I've shown today, they're very different in application. But yeah, I mean, they're both great and inspiring for creating your own sounds. But if you want to jump in the presets, you can do that too. I mean, it's kind of what you want. You can pick whatever, clean. I mean, if you're into the clean sounds, I'm probably the worst YouTuber to watch because so these are using some of the creative shapes. You've got really complex wet shapes. If I was to so yeah, I mean, there's tons and tons of options for ways you can create your own sounds. There's plenty of presets. Both libraries have a good set of presets to get you going, and and they're both inspiring and useful at the same time, which is awesome. And then on the other hand, if you like to create your own sounds, there's just a ton of options in both. So like I mentioned earlier, Orbit has the step sequencer for its different motions, for different effects. You've got 4 separate ones there, which I really like. But then, with Signal, you're not so much scrolling between sounds as you are applying effects to a sustain. So for example, if I turn off all the pulses, that's what you're starting with. So this engine works by applying effects by a certain LFO. So it's basically applying these effects down here at this rate here. Whereas on Orbit, you're starting with the sounds, it scrolls through, and then you apply the effects there. So I mean, For the YouTube people, this is where the video is going to end. If you're on live stream, don't worry, we're going to continue a little bit after this. But yeah, if you're watching the YouTube video for this, do feel free to subscribe below. For the people watching the live stream, this will be like a really weird scenario where I'm talking to people that aren't watching and talking to people. I'm talking to people who aren't watching right now. But yeah, you guys, thanks for watching. Hit the subscribe button on YouTube, and there'll be more videos like this done from the live stream perspective. And yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I'll see you in the next one.